Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has fallen over the deep end, ladies and gentlemen. We knew she was an actress from the beginning, but now she has accused President Trump and his administration of running a concentration camp on the southern border. And yes, thank God that this shocking accusation has sparked outrage across social media. And of course, AOC has refused to respond to a request for comment from various news outlets. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, representatives like Dan Crenshaw, Republican of Texas, has pushed back against Ocasio-Cortez's definition of a concentration camp, noting that many of the migrants detained for trying to cross the border illegally are asylum seekers awaiting court proceedings. AOC doubled down in the face of her criticism, tweeting that Trump's administration has established concentration camps where immigrants are being brutalized and dehumanized with conditions that are uncouth for any human being. But what's really funny is it's probably much better than where they actually came from. It is sick to think, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, the reality is we have detention facilities designed for 4,000 people under Border Patrol's control, but they have 19,000 people there. Why do they have 19,000 people there? Because people like Representative Ocasio-Cortez refuse to acknowledge the problem in Congress and help us fund this by bringing a supplemental resolution, at least in the short term, to the floor of the Congress to pay for humanitarian aid and detention facilities and beds. Instead of calling for President Trump's impeachment, I think you need to actually do your job, AOC.
President Trump promising mass deportations and slamming Democrats for not addressing the immigration crisis.
They're going to start next week, and when people come into our country and they come in illegally, they have to go out, and everybody's seeing that. And as you know, Mexico's been doing a very good job the last 4 days. They haven't done that in 25 years. They're doing a very good job. With all of that being said, the Democrats should get together and solve the asylum problem, which is very easy to solve, and they should solve the loophole problem.
So what will these deportations look like?
Here with insight is the acting ICE director, Mark Morgan. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Director, what can we expect to happen in the days ahead?
Look, the president has been very clear on this, is that he wants to maintain the integrity of the system, make sure that we enforce the rule of law and address this crisis that we have on the southwest border. So one of the things that we're doing is we're making sure that we're looking at this from a simplistic viewpoint. If you are here illegally in violation of federal immigration law, if you've received due process, there should be consequences, including families. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we apply the law and we enforce the law across the board. We're not going to exempt a certain demographic. We need to make sure that everybody that has been here in violation of the law has consequences.
Okay, and you know, Mark, we've heard the number, there are at least 12 million people in the country illegally. But I think the caveat that I heard in your answer was people who have had the due process. So in other words, you are... starting next week, they're going to go after the people who are in the country illegally and who have had an order of deportation against them, right?
So I'm not going to tell you specifically when we're going to do it and how we're going to do it.
Well, generally.
Generally, that's correct. We have a demographic that has had an enormous amount of due process. They've had access to attorneys. They've had access to interpreters. They've received a final order of removal from a judge. We've even sent them letters saying, you've received an order. Come to ICE. We'll work with you. We'll give you 30 days to get your affairs in order, and we'll help you return you to your country. Those have been ignored. Those people in those categories, over 90% haven't showed up, and they've ignored the order. What I'm trying to tell them, Steve, real quickly is, look, as ICE, I don't want to come to your door. I don't want to come to your home. I don't want to come to your workplace. What I'm asking these individuals that have these final orders, come to ICE, work with us in a humane, dignified manner to return you to your country of origin as it's been ordered. That's what I hope we can do here.
Yeah, but do you really think they're going to do that?
So history has shown they have not, but that's why we're out here trying to communicate. Okay. The ICE gets vilified every single day for doing our job, and what we're trying to do is say, look, we don't want to come into your neighborhoods. Come to us, work with us, and we'll do this in a humane way to make sure we restore the rule of law.
Mark, AOC was on social media, and she was comparing what's happening on our southern border to what happened in Germany during the Nazi years. Listen to this.
The United States is running concentration camps on our southern border, and that is exactly what they are. The fact that concentration camps are now an institutionalized practice in the home of the free is extraordinarily disturbing.
Mark, she's not backing down either. What do you think about that?
Well, nor am I, Ainsley. This type of rhetoric from our elected leaders is irresponsible, reckless, misinformed, and wrong. And what's ironic about this is we've been sounding along for a very long time that we have a crisis. It's real. It's not manufactured. Our resources are overwhelmed. The Border Patrol, for example, those facilities are designed for adults. They're not designed for families and kids. And we've been saying that for a very, very long time. Congress could pass meaningful legislation that could end this tomorrow. So the irony is unbelievable here. In addition to that, we've been asking for a very long time to get Congress to do what hopefully will do today is pass the supplemental so that these kids that Border Patrol has in the facilities, we can get them out of these overcrowded facilities and get them in the hands of HSS to get them in more adequate facilities. We've been asking Congress to do this, and they have failed to do so.
All right, Mark Morgan, Acting Director of ICE. He's taken on a big task, a big job in the days ahead. We appreciate you coming in this morning.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, so with ICE set to begin removing illegal immigrants, we're told next week, it's an act that Speaker Pelosi is calling utter malice and bigotry. For reaction to that, breaking news in the president's re-election rally tonight, Congressman and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy joins us now live. Great to have you with us, sir.
Well, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Okay, obviously there's been a lot of backlash to what Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez said about these facilities where the overflow of illegal immigrants is being held. She tweets this in the aftermath of that criticism. She says, for the shrieking Republicans who don't know the difference, concentration camps are not the same as death camps. Concentration camps are considered by experts as, quote, the mass detention of civilians without trial, and that's exactly what this administration is doing. Your response?
Well, I think she needs to understand what history is and not compare the both. The other thing she has to understand, too, what is happening along the border, has she been there to see it? These are people who are illegally crossing to coming over. This is a country that's actually caring for them, providing their health care, taking care of the children. And the majority of the children that are coming over are not with their parents. So it's fundamentally different, and she's trying to use something without understanding history, and I would never compare the two. She actually owes the country an apology.
Well, we'll see if you get it. In the meantime, we understand that there's a package coming together, at least over on the Senate side. Now, we're getting word tonight that Senators Shelby and Leahy may have worked out something, a tentative agreement on $4.59 billion in supplemental appropriations. A lot of this to go to what a lot of people, including the New York Times and a number of Democrats, are calling the humanitarian crisis at the border. But we're also getting word tonight, potentially, that there are riders or other things that Democrats would like to tuck into some of this funding that Republicans, frankly, find kind of controversial, so-called poison pills. Will this package come together?
Well, I hope this package will come together. We were close to do this on the House just a little bit ago when we were doing the supplemental, but the challenge really were the Democrats. The Democrats, whether it's funding for security, whether it's funding for the children, continue to say no. 15 times they voted no. I'm fortunate in the Senate they're actually taking action because they need these resources to actually do the job along the border. And I believe we'll read through it, we'll make sure that there are no poison pills, and hopefully we can vote it as a standalone and get this to the president's desk because it is desperately needed.
Is there enough bipartisan support? Because as I said, I mean, when you have the New York Times and a number of Democrats saying, as you all have said on the other side of the aisle, that there is actually a crisis here that needs immediate attention, funding, personnel, all of those things, is there bipartisan will to get at least this package done?
You know what? The New York Times didn't even editorialize this on once, they did it twice. The unfortunate part is is the entire country knows there's a crisis, except the Democrats inside this House. The Judiciary Committee hasn't marked up anything, that they would go back again with whatever impeachment and other things they want to do and not focus on the border itself. I believe there are enough votes to get this done. Unfortunately, the House has not done it in this new majority, but I believe the Senate can get it done, move it to the House, and we can move it to the President's desk. I will tell you, on this side of the aisle, we will vote to make sure we have the resources to move forward. I just need the Democrats on the other side to bring the bill up, and we'll get it done.
Okay, so you know, obviously, better than most, this feels like a very divided time over on Capitol Hill and really across the country. Here's what the president said a short time ago in his rally for his re-election launch tonight.
Many times I said we would drain the swamp, and that's exactly what we're doing. And that's why the swamp is fighting back so viciously and violently. Our patriotic movement has been under assault from the very first day. Our radical Democrat opponents are driven by hatred, prejudice, and rage. They want to destroy you, and they want to destroy our country as we know it.
Mr. Leader, you know that that's exactly what folks on the other side of the aisle say about you, about other Republicans, about the president, that you are full of prejudice and hatred, that you are radical, that you want to destroy the country. I mean, where is there any ground to work together on big issues like immigration that the country as a whole is suffering from this unresolved issue?
Well, the first thing you have to see, what has this president actually done? We have the greatest economy in the last 50 years. He passed right to try, that actually individuals that are terminal are able to use drugs that they haven't used before. You look at what he talked about in this rally, where unemployment for anybody in this country, whether you're a woman, whether you're African American, whether you're Hispanic, one of the lowest levels you have ever seen. We rebuilt our military. We've been tackling opioids. He has a lot of great success. But now you have a new majority inside the House of Congress. The challenge here is it's not the same Democratic Party you found in the past. It is a new socialist Democratic Party. And that becomes a real challenge. And I think this is what we'll see in November, that you will now find this whole debate for the next presidency will be socialism versus freedom, something that I think has been brewing for quite some time. When I look at the number of Democrats who are running for president, Bernie Sanders, he's been very honest about as he moved up, he was a registered socialist. These are their ideas, and I believe that is out of step with the majority of members in America. And from one point of view, mine, I can work with anybody. And the one thing we find within our government is not designed where somebody gets 100% of what they want. You're going to have to find compromise. And I found this president willing to compromise, keeping his principles. But the one thing I've looked on the other side of the aisle, we want to do infrastructure, transportation. They didn't want to do it. When he wanted to do something about securing the border, doing something about DACA, where Nancy Pelosi has the longest speech on the floor ever about that issue, she wouldn't take it up. So I've been in the room the number of the times the Democrats turned him down. The one thing they do want to do is impeach this president. You just watched a brand new member from California who is in a swing district come out and talk to her own constituents to say she wants to impeach the president. And you watched 66 Democrats vote for impeachment before the Mueller report even came out and said there was no collusion. So the problem and the challenge we have as a nation is we've got to move past the last election and actually get this country moving again, find those areas that we can find common ground and solve these problems.
The United States is running concentration camps on our southern border, and that is exactly what they are. They are concentration camps. And if that doesn't bother you, we can have, okay, whatever. I want to talk to the people that are concerned enough with humanity to say that we should not, that never again means something. And that the fact that concentration camps are now an institutionalized practice in the home of the free is extraordinarily disturbing. And we need to do something about it. This week, immigrant children were moved to the same internment camps where the Japanese were held in the earlier 20th century. And this is This is not even about a crisis this is not just about the immigrant communities being held in concentration camps being a crisis. This is a crisis for ourselves. This is a crisis on if America will remain America in its actual principles and values, or if we are losing to an authoritarian and fascist presidency. And so I think that is, I don't use those words lightly. I don't use those words to just throw bombs. I use that word because that is what an administration that creates concentration camps is. A presidency that creates concentration camps is fascist.